What's going on, guys? Today is, what is it, October 24th. I should have been prepared with the date. I'm going to do some quick just inflation analysis and what I'm going to be expecting and how I'm going to be trading this or looking into this. So I'll bring up some little cheat sheets that I made. Now, the first thing that we want to pay attention to is the fact that you have four pieces of data for CPI that's going to be coming out. So when we're taking a look at this, I'll bring up my economic calendar real quick. You can see them all right here. You have core CPI, and then you have, it just says CPI, but it's sometimes called headline CPI. So the important thing for this is not necessarily to memorize each individual number, but more so, I just don't want mixed data. Meaning when this comes out, I don't want to see, some of them come out above expected, some of them come out below expected. I want either all of it above, all of it below. Preferably, that would be ideal. Whoops, sorry about that. Preferably, that would be ideal, so that way we don't get mixed markets, mixed reactions. No matter what, I'm not changing my bias, but I'll go into that a little after. If this inflation data comes out lower than expected, I think this would be the ideal scenario. It could be a little tricky for gold. For those who don't know, gold does follow inflation expectations. So I would expect the initial reaction to probably give us a push to the upside, but I'd be very careful and I'd still be looking for gold. Well, I would actually start looking for gold to drop. And this would be my first time that I'd say that I'm bearish on gold. It all depends on how this data comes out because gold has such a strong correlation to inflation expectations. If we finally see inflation start to drop, it could also be bad for gold. A couple of the things to pay attention to though is we have a lot of other factors that are impacting gold. Geopolitical tensions, tariffs between the US and China, and all of that stuff. So I'm not saying long-term bearish. I think it depends on how this data comes out. We take a look over at gold. The only reason I can really think of for the drop that we've been getting from all-time highs was most likely just a pullback from the highs and also the fact that we have inflation data coming out. So it makes sense that you get a profit-taking move, but I don't think that that's going to be the reason fundamentally, at least, to be looking for sells yet. I think it depends on how this data comes out. At the end of the day, we'll see. The one thing I would add to this is we got to be really careful today. I'm going to be really careful on my risk. Just because we haven't had data come out in a month since the government's been shut down. So even though I've been trading inflation data live for 5 years every day, I've never missed an inflation report, but I'm very interested to see how the markets react given the fact that we haven't had NFP, we haven't had jobless claims, we haven't had PCE data, nothing's come out. So we'll see. Once again, if this comes out lower, I do think this could be a little tricky for gold. I think the initial reaction would be upside, but I'd be very careful to see if that recovers. I'd be willing to take sells if I see gold start to drop. Sometimes it takes a week for gold to actually drop. This last time inflation data came out lower than expected, I think 2 months ago, gold pushed up the rest of the week, and then the week after, we finally got that drop. It's because of dollar. The US dollar was dropping with lower inflation, it pushed gold to the upside. So all this to be said, I think gold's tricky with inflation data. I usually stay away, and I like to trade equities like NASDAQ with inflation data. When it comes to equities, I feel like it'd be pretty straightforward. The biggest risk that we have, specifically on NAS, is that we are at all-time highs. The buys from yesterday played out beautifully, and we're still holding that, which is nice. We had the initial breakout here, another little bit of kind of choppy consolidation, still slowly chugging to the upside. But we're at all-time highs, so we got to be careful. I'm not against buying at the highs, especially if it's driven by data. It's just something to be aware of. So if inflation comes out lower than expected, NAS, US 30, SP 500, or YM, whatever you guys want to call it, if you trade futures, I'd be looking for it to push up. In the US dollar, I would expect it to drop. It should be bad for the US dollar. One caveat to all of this is that there are other factors impacting the markets. It's not just data, right? The US dollar has been strong because of tariffs, trade tensions, and stuff like that. It's been good for the dollar. Trump's been doing a lot, and it's been helping the dollar with the strong economy. So inflation isn't the only reason for dollar to move in one direction. So just keep that in mind when we're trading this. It's not data isn't a one-all be-all type thing. It just helps with analysis, if that makes sense. Well, hopefully it'll help you with this analysis. If inflation comes out above expected, I still think it'd be tricky on gold, but I think this would be a really good opportunity to just take gold right back up. I think the best opportunity if inflation comes out higher is going to be gold buys, but we have to be careful if the initial reaction is a drop. And the reason I think that the initial reaction would be a drop is because usually the US dollar would gain strength when inflation comes out higher, because this means that the Feds might hold interest rates higher for longer, and that's bullish for the dollar. So if the dollar gains strength, if the yields gain strength, Those two things are typically bad for gold, which could give gold the drop. But like I said in the beginning, gold has a very strong correlation to inflation expectations. So if inflation is still continuing to be sticky and it's continuing higher, and this is an issue, I still think that's more reasons to look for gold buys. And that would, in this scenario, I think that'd be ideal. When it comes to equities, once again, like I have this little arrow here, I think the initial reaction could be a drop, but I'm not bearish on equities. I don't think this isn't going to change my bias. So if I get a drop on NAS, I'm just looking at it as an opportunity to take buys. I'll probably just wait for the stock exchange open or something, and I'll let the drop happen. It all depends because it really depends on how above expected it comes out. And if we do get a drop, how aggressive is that drop and how fast is it, right? If it's too fast, I miss the entry. If it's slow enough where I think I can get in, but it hasn't broken an area where it's kind of tough to explain the specific reaction. So, I mean, I'll be trading this live. The link will be somewhere below if you guys want to join us. But be careful for fake outs when we get those drops, especially on gold if it comes out above expected. All this to be said, be careful in general because we haven't had data come out in a month. So all of this analysis in the past, I'm usually, 95% accurate, if not more, when it comes to the reactions from data. I've been doing this for a long time and I've experienced a lot of it, but I'm still very cautious going into today because I'm just not too sure how the market's going to react given the fact that we haven't had any data come out in an entire month. So I think we're going to get a lot of volatility. I think the markets are sitting on the sidelines waiting for this. And I also think there might be a good opportunity on gold if it comes out above expected, but we'll see. I hope this video is helpful. No matter what, at the end of the session, after I take my trades or after we watch the data come out with Day Trading University, I'll do some analysis and some breakdowns on what happened in the markets. If you want to trade live with us, the link will be somewhere in the description. You can join us and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.